Hi, it's Aleda. Welcome back to A Tale of Two Readers. I am doing a single video today. Gabby's here, but she is, I'm doing the Latinx slash Hispanic Heritage Booktubers tag, which was originally set up by Boogish Babbles with the Gorgeous Hair. So I thought this would be really fun, and I just got all my props out to show all my stuff. So let's get started. Both of my parents were born in Cuba, born and raised in Cuba. I was born in New Jersey, which most Cuban Americans are of my generation, either Miami or New Jersey. I speak Spanish. I've lost some of it because I moved about 20 years ago to, out of my home into a different state, and I have no one with whom to speak it, so I have a lot of decorations and stuff that represent my heritage. So I used to have some beautiful maps and that kind of thing, and I had a guayabera, which is a Cuban style shirt, linen shirt. Don't have those anymore, but the last time I went to Miami, I went to Calle Ocho, of course, and I brought back these guys who are just so adorable. These are in my bookcase, so that's how important they are to me. I love this Guajiro hat. It's so perfect, the straw hat, and I love the little kerchief. Also, I have a pencil, another one with a kerchief, and I can't remember if this was given to me by someone who went to New Orleans and brought me back a voodoo thing, or if I got this in Calle Ocho, which is like the cultural epicenter of Miami. And I think this may be like a Santeria type Oshun or something. So just in case it is, I wanted to include her because she's wonderful. I also have, so that's the Virgin Mary. Every good Cuban has to wear one around her neck. And I also have this. This is not an azabache. Azabache looks very similar to this. This, I forget what this stone is called, both in Spanish and English, but there's this one, and there's one that's a black stone, which is not shiny unless you buy the plastic ones, which are just as powerful. So they are like kind of protective against like the evil eye and that sort of thing. When you're a baby, you get them around your neck like almost immediately as an infant, and then as you grow older, at least they used to do this, I don't think they do this, many people do this more, I don't. You get a pin, a safety pin, and you put all of them on your safety pin and pin it inside your bra, so you have it. You have the protection with you everywhere you go. That is really hard because I've read several Cuban authors in order to see if I could find, just find out about my heritage and how people that have grown up in Cuba now, what their thoughts are, and how they feel about the United States. I grew up with the very, my parents were very anti-Castro. They had to leave their homes and their families because of Castro. They lost everything. So I grew up in a home where communism is the absolute worst thing that can happen. And of course, I grew up to be a socialist. So there's a mystery series by Carolina Garcia Aguilera, and it's the Lupe Solano series, and it's wonderful. It's all fluff. It's a lot of fun. It's about Lupe Solano, who is, my contemporary. She is a private eye in Miami. Of course, her family lives in Coco Plum, and she's got all, they've got all of the wonderful fluffy mystery tropes in there. Her assistant is kind of like this kooky health nut, and it's also her cousin, and he's gay, and there's always like that one hot guy that she runs into who's either an attorney or he's a cop or whatever. It's just really fun stuff. It's fun because she talks about how she drinks her coffee every morning and the pastries, and it's just so very Cuban. It's just a lot of fun. So if you're looking to kind of see a simple day-to-day Cuban American woman, and how she lives and what she eats and what she's thinking about. That's kind of perfect because it's really how this my generation was raised, and it was a lot of fun. She doesn't write them anymore, but they were a lot of fun to read. Okay, so due to my illness, I forgot a really important thing that happened to me. It's important to me. I was born and raised in North Jersey, just outside of Manhattan, and so my friends and I would go tell our parents we were going to, the mall. We'd take the bus into the city, and so that was always a big thing. So when my daughter was born, I said, there's certain places that I really need to take her because they just hold such a special place in my heart, like the Museum of Natural History. So we went into the city, and we're in front of the museum, and this guy walks by, and I said to my friend Jackie, who is my daughter's godmother, I said, that was Junot Diaz. And she's like, who's Junot Diaz? I said, he's the fucking Pulitzer Prize winning author from New Jersey. He's the one who wrote, I'm sure you guys have read some of his stuff. The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, I think, is the one, and then there's another one that he wrote that's very good as well. This Is How You Lose Her, which examines how Latino men treat Latino women. I will say that he has always given a shout out to Elizabeth girls, which is where I was born and raised. He always says that they're the most beautiful. I just love him for that. And he's not even Cuban. He's just like, yo, those Cuban girls from Elizabeth. Like, it's just so Jersey, so cute. Anyway, so he walks by, and I'm not the type of person that will flag someone down because I know them or because I need a selfie or anything like that. I just would be mortified to do that. But my friend Jackie has no such issues. Like, she actually went down the street running after I told her who he was because she had no idea who he was, and she said, Mr. Diaz, and she stopped him, and we walked up to him, and I was like totally embarrassed, and I was like, I introduced myself, and I said, I love your work, the things you gush about when you meet like an author that you love that's also from your state, who's also Latino, who you're just so damn proud of, and who of course keeps telling you how, beautiful you are because you're a Cuban girl from Elizabeth. But anyway, so just in case you don't believe me, so that's me in the middle, that's Jackie, that's my little girl, and there he is, Mr. Junot Diaz. So when we took this picture, we said, instead of say cheese, we were like, say Pulitzer! Oh my God. But anyway, that was my wonderful brush with greatness. This is less a fiction story, but I have read Yoani Sanchez's, she's a blogger, she's a Cuban blogger in Cuba. And she's, I think, in her 30s now. And she talks about freedom in Cuba, and she talks about it, and she's very loud and proud about it, and she spreads the internet. She was instrumental in spreading the internet to a lot of places, even places out, way out of the way. Not just the resort areas or the coastline, which is where most of the resorts are, but she actually mentioned my father's hometown. And I had to read it twice because I thought, oh my God, she's really getting around. So she's been trying to get everyone online, trying to get everyone communicating, trying to, even though I've heard she's been sabotaged several times by the government, she still keeps talking. So I love her. She still lives there, but she's very clear about what the faults are in Cuba, and she loves Cuba. She knows it's false. She wants to stay there. She loves Cuba. But she also understands that her son may want to leave and he may want to go to the United States. And she said it would break her heart, but she can't stand in his way because she would completely understand. She just feels the need to really be this person who's going to bring back free speech in Cuba. So I wish her luck. She has been great. I think at this point she's so popular that she's safe. If anything happens to her, I think there would be a pretty big outcry within and without Cuba. So pick that up. It's a fun read. It's not. I shouldn't say fun read. It's an interesting read, and it's a good read if you want to know about what the feelings are for the natives now. there. Okay, so there are a couple. One of them is this monster that your parents try to scare you with, called Macanduco. It's hilarious because they never describe him. I just always assumed he kind of looked like a big bear, like maybe claws, maybe like big teeth, but not really scary, not like they intended, I don't think. Like he was just so fuzzy in my mind that I didn't really believe that, I don't know if I even believed that he existed, but you know, it was always like, if you don't eat all your meat, all your food, Macanduco is gonna get you, and I just like, whatever, you know. Another thing that we do, that Cubans do, is we do not have a tooth fairy. We have a little mouse that comes and takes your teeth. So it's the cutest thing, because with my daughter, that's one of the things I wanted to do. So when she lost her first tooth, you know, I got everything that was like shiny and sparkly and, you know, some change, and I put it under her pillow because the mouse was gonna come, and she was so excited, and it was really nice. So we do have, it's a little mouse. And then as she got older, like, she would lose her teeth in school, and then they would tell her that the tooth fairy was gonna come, and I was like, oh, you know, don't ruin the whole thing. But anyway, then she like totally jumped ship, so she's all about the fairy now.
Screw the fairy.
Yeah, right? The mouse is just so much cuter, yeah. I'm gonna have to go with Lupe Solano because she's just really cool. She's just a lot of fun. There's no way I can answer that. First of all, my father was born in 28, so I grew up listening to everything from like classic Cuban poetry recited by Luis Carbonell on vinyl. I listened to El Trio Matamoros, which is a very old, like from the 30s and 40s group that sang Cuban folk music, which is amazing. There's a whole lot of yelling in the background, like the guy is singing and they're like, you know, mentira, you know, like, you know, it's just like, just really awesome, just these three guys with their guitars. Of course, Benny Moré and Celia Cruz, both super famous in the 50s here in the States and in Cuba. If you don't know them, go find out about them. Go, you know, find a song, do something. They were both big during the 50s and 60s with the big band music, with the big band movement in New York City, along with Tito Puente, who is Puerto Rican, but they all used to kind of just bring the house down, packed houses in New York, in the Palladium. So, I gotta love those guys. They're just amazing. They're such beautiful songs and so much fun to dance to. They have ballads. They have it's just absolutely wonderful. Similar to what Desi Arnaz did on I Love Lucy, who is also Cuban, just in case you didn't know. Who also produced Star Trek. So you can thank a Cuban if you are a Trekkie. Of course, Gloria Estefan, who was really big in the 80s, which is when I was in high school. She is beloved. She is like, they are like the Miami Mafia. Like, everybody loves them. Everyone claims to know the Estefans. They're awesome. They have produced like a ton of different Latin musical acts. And Albita is awesome. I have to, she has got a great album called Song, which is a specific type of Cuban music, and it's great to dance to. It's great to sing to while you are cooking. Albita is super awesome, and there's a bunch of double entendres which are really, really fun. She just lays it all out. She's really cool. Okay, so here I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant. First of all, One Day at a Time, this supposedly great, fabulous new show, I think it's a Netflix series, is supposed to be a Cuban family, and I think Rita Moreno is the only Cuban in the fucking cast. You're telling me you cannot find a Cuban family? You can't find Cuban kids? You can't find... Just stop. Stop it. I have nothing against whatever nationality you are, but if you're going to cast a Cuban family, please use Cuban actors. They need jobs too. So not everyone is as lucky as Raul Esparza, who got to play a Cuban in Law and Order. He plays the attorney, the ADA in Special Victims, Law and Order Special Victims, and he is a Cuban American who plays a Cuban American on TV.
Wow.
It is so rare. Here's another gripe right now. I loved Dexter. That was one of my favorite all-time shows. I thought it's just a perfect show, a lot of fun. I like horror. Blood doesn't bother me. Violence doesn't bother me. So I thought it was a wonderful program. It was based in Miami. And they had a ton of characters in that show that were supposed to be Cuban, but just by looking at their faces, I knew that they were not. And I love them. I have nothing against them, but if you can't find a Cuban actor in Miami, you're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong because there are a ton of them down. It's fucking Miami. Why do you do this? Come on, man. Let us represent ourselves.
It's careless.
It's really uncool. That's the other thing. Americans, not all of them, but for the most part, non-Hispanic white Americans clump us all together. Forget that we are on different continents. Forget that we have different racial backgrounds. Forget that we are, different religions. There are, Jewish, Catholic mostly, but, it is amazing how quickly they easily switch. They just interchangeably interchange them no matter what. They see a last name like Diaz and it doesn't matter. They just throw a Mexican in because, I guess there are a lot of Mexicans in the United States, which is great, but they are not Cuban, or they are not Colombian, or they are not Chilean. So really, we do have a lot together, and I think that we do need to stick together, particularly right now when this administration is literally killing children in camps. It's important that we all stick together. However, remember, we are not all, it would just be like me saying, well, you're Irish, so whatever, like it's the same as being Icelandic, or, it's the same as being Scottish or Portuguese, because you guys are out on the west coast of Europe. You can't interchangeably, you can't do that. So please keep that in mind. That is a request from a Hispanic Latinx woman. Oh gosh, there's so many little things that I'm so proud about. The food is tremendous. So just wait 1 second, I want to show you this. I can't find these here because I'm in Pennsylvania. But Portos, and if you're Cuban, you know Portos. And I got my box this morning, so I was so excited because I was planning to do this video, and I got the box this morning, and these are cheese pastries, Cuban cheese pastries. Most of the pastries in Cuba are of French descent, so it's like a mixture of Spanish and French. So this is a cheese pastry. It is not like a cheese Danish. Danish is more like a roll, like a cakey kind of breadish. This is like flaky pastry, like a croissant. I mean, look at that. Just oh my God. So I got these today. The food. It's not because I'm Cuban. It's just really, really good. It is a mix of Afro and European flavors. Oh, and by the way, another thing that pisses me off, do not compare Hispanics to food. Stop it. We are not spicy. We are not hot. Please don't compare us to food. We're not edible. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so the food, number one, awesome. The music, again, that mix, that Afro-Cuban or Afro-Spanish, because you have these wonderful guitars, and then Cubans have several different types of guitars, and that comes from the Spanish. And then you get the bongo drums, which are just amazing, and you get those together, and it's just magic ensues. Another thing about Cubans is that we tend to hyperbolize, and we are really proud of this fact. It is not something that we're embarrassed about. In fact, there's a song, I don't know who it's by, but it goes, Nosotros los cubanos no somos exagerados, which translates into, we Cubans do not exaggerate. but it's, you know, it's a play. It's just, she's just being funny because we're very hyperbolic. So in America, if your friend says, oh my God, I caught a fish and it was this big, your friend is going to look at you and be like, yeah, right, you know, and that's where it ends. In Cuba, everybody loves the big fish story. And so they know that the fish was not this big, that it's probably more like this big, but they say to you, really? That's awesome. So it must be like, what was it, like 3 feet long? And then so now suddenly your friend is saying it's this big, and you're like, that's exactly right, it was that big. And like, everyone knows that everyone is bullshitting, but they're having so much fun and they're all exaggerating, and it is the best. It's just, you know, and that's another thing about Cubans. They're probably the friendliest, funniest people. Not big on dry humor, not big on sarcasm. Sarcasm is a little bit, it's considered a little bit kind of mean. So
you're so sarcastic.
I know. But from one Cuban to another, we love to laugh, and we're very like jovial. That's one thing I'm super proud of. The families tend to be very close, some more than others. Of course, every family is different, and I have cousins that I talk to regularly on Facebook and on Insta, and I have never met them, and we adore each other. So it's really nice. That's something I'd like to do, is actually go to Cuba. First of all, I didn't even know it existed. I mean, when I saw this tag, she had mentioned Blonde with the Book, and I really enjoyed her tag. She did the same tag, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But I haven't watched often enough to say whether or not I have a favorite, but I will I'll keep an eye out and keep checking and following them. One thing I wanted to mention, there are a couple more cultural things that I had to mention. It's just, Cubans use the word coño, and this is how it usually ends up sounding. So it's coño, but the t-shirt is ño, because it's like, it can be used in many different ways. It's similar to fuck. So like, oh man, like, she cheated on him, coño. Or it could be like something really serious, like Caridad ate. No.
Oh my God, I was on the edge of my seat. I was on the edge of my seat. It's like, what did she eat?
So I am sick right now. Thank God I have El Vipavorru, which you know is the most Cuban thing in the world. This is the panacea. And so if I did not have this, and I was sick, and I looked through my drawer and I couldn't find my Vipavorru, it would be like, no, like, oh my God, like, it would really suck. But I'm not an irresponsible Cuban, so it's always, I have plenty of jars in my thing. So this is why the ño is so funny. But be careful, because ño is often said within your friends and family, but if you say it to another Hispanic, like I used to teach Mexicans specifically, and for them it's a really bad word. Like, you don't say it. It's not like the Cuban camaraderie cool, you know, it's seriously offensive to them. So and you can tell me if there are other Hispanics that use it freely or are you know, it's very offensive, use it to, you know, to offend or hurt somebody.
How did you find out that it was like super offensive?
Because I said it in class one day, and you know, because they were adults. So first, let me clarify. I taught ESL to adult Mexicans, and all of their heads like popped up from their desks, and their eyes were like, and one of them was like, and it was hilarious because Cubans are like, yo, man, coño, you know, like, we're just, it's just, you know, you really shouldn't, like, you don't, when you're a kid, you normally don't talk like that in front of your parents and that sort of thing. But when you're with your friends, that's how you talk. And they were like really
Shocked.
They were shocked, and I felt terrible because I had offended them. But I learned, that that you can't. Not everything is switchable. So again, a reminder: we are not interchangeable. We are not interchangeable. So thank you so much for your time. I know this is a long one. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sitting through all of my rants and all of my Cuban stuff. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, please put them down below. If you like this video, please give us a like. And I'm going to just eat my pastries now. So I'll see ya. Thanks so much. Oh my God, Daddy.
Amazing.